And we're back with another Elsie's Little Pickles. I'm Steve, he's Keith, and we've got stupid shit to talk about. What do you got?
I'm feeling a little dilly-silly.
All right. Lay it on me.
Here's some news. Mystery projectile lands near Moscow as Russia is hit by a barrage of drones.
Oh, it's a mystery projectile.
It's a mysterious mystery projectile.
You know what I would love to see?
Sounds like somebody took a wrister.
You know what I'd like to do? I'd like to have like one of those big cargo plane, you know, where they can do the mass drop of something.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see the United States fund a massive dildo drop over Russia. Wouldn't that be the best? Like, you just had 8...
Hey, Putin, here's a big bag of dicks.
Yeah, I mean, I just just litter the skies with falling fucking latex cocks. Just litter the place, you know, like right over the Kremlin. And just like 10,000 fucking 100,000 fucking dildos just rain down to show what kind of a dick Putin is.
That would be entertaining.
I think it'd be hysterical. Video. Yeah, I mean, think about it. 4 people killed by dildo. It just got fucking whacked. Just whacked.
I was out walking my dog when all of a sudden, big black dildo hit me in the face.
It was a 7-incher. It was an 8-incher. It was a 12-incher. I swear to God, it was this big.
I'm just glad I wasn't looking up with my mouth open.
Fucking, you know, and I know
somehow, apparently, our Russians became New Yorkers.
Oh yeah, well, it's because we're so good at accents. I can only do Irish, and I can only say from 332 to 335, and that's as far as I go, and that's even horrible. And I apologize to the Irish audience.
I can occasionally do a very, very good Sean Connery, but I have to hear his voice first, and then I can repeat it.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it just sounds like this.
It's actually pretty good.
I should have sent it to the Marx Brothers. What does it tell me? It tells me that goose stomping morons like yourself should be reading books instead of burning them.
See, the only real impressions I can do, I can actually do a decent Cosby, but that's kind of gone out of fashion.
It'll never go out of... Come on, you got to ask me if I want a pudding pop.
Would you like to put my pudding pop in your mouth? Put it in your pie hole and have a Coke and a smile and shut the fuck up. But the one that I'm actually good at...
Is it bad form to pretend I was sleeping during that?
No, that's actually the desired effect. The one that I did, I don't even know if you knew this. I actually did a Buddy's Pizza commercial years ago. Do you remember that?
Really? No.
Yeah, I did a Buddy's Pizza commercial. Somehow or another, they found out that I could, and the call came out of the blue. I had not auditioned. I don't even know how they got...
You could eat pizza?
No. They wanted me to do a Bobcat Goldthwait impression.
Really?
Yeah. So I get this call. I have no idea how they got my number. To this day, I have no idea how they got my phone number. I have no idea how they found out about it. But when I walked into the audition, they're like, "Oh, good, you did make it, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, okay." And they're like, "Well, can you do several impressions and please make sure you do your Bobcat Goldthwait. That's the one that we're really interested in, right?" So this was the audition. I'm in the hospital in the maternity ward, and I'm looking at the baby aquarium, and this lady comes up to me. She goes, "Is that your baby?" I said, "No." She said, "Is that your baby?" I said, "No." I said, "Every baby looks like me. They're all bald and screaming their heads off." And I thought, there's no way, right? No way. I didn't make it out the door. Like, I was like, okay, audition's done. I left waiting for, obviously the next person to go in. Hey, come running out. Hey, sign this and we'll see you on fucking whatever day for filming. And I'm like, "Ooh, am I going to get lines?" Or they go, "No, just do that screaming thing. We think that's funny enough." I'm like, okay, fine.
Interesting.
I got like, I don't know, $400 or whatever. And all I did was stand there for, I don't know, 3-4 minutes in front of the camera going, "I like Buddy's pizza. It's so good." I'll take that check. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
So we also have
back to the news.
Florida set to ban homeless from sleeping on public property.
Well, you cannot you cannot ever be disappointed with the idea that Florida tries but fails across the board. You're never going to be able to enforce that. There's far too many homeless people, and the cops are not going to fucking. They're not going to waste their time on that. It's not worth their time for the paperwork. What was the other? Didn't you say there you saw one where some guy got a fuck ton of vaccinations?
Yeah, I was just about to say a German man got 217 coronavirus shots.
217.
What the hell? There, I would think there would have to be some kind of, hey, guys, how many times do you think I could get vaccinated before they catch me?
It had to be a bet.
Or hold my beer.
I mean, first off, I would think that there would be some negative effect.
You would think. I mean, they claim up and down that myocarditis is a side effect of the virus or the vaccine to the virus.
Right.
I would like to point out it is also a side effect of the virus itself. So how would you know? But apparently this guy's heart is fine.
Well, if nothing else,
Just saying.
they should definitely have him in and do some testing. You know what I mean? Like, I would think if, let's say, for example, he got 217 Pfizer vaccinations. If I were Pfizer, I would be like, dude, we have a job for you. Come on in. We're going to kind of like check you out and see. Because if you can have, well, you figure the vaccines came out in what, 2022?
2020.
2020? Okay.
2020, 2021.
All right. So,
oh my God.
If that is the case, and he was able to do that many in 4 years, we'll call it, well, 2021, 2, 3, yeah, it would be 4 years. And he did it with no side effect. There's got to be something going on with his immune system. Because I don't think that you could take, let's say, for example, the flu vaccine or shingles and get it 217 times, you said?
217 times.
Yeah, I don't know of any vaccine that you could take 217 times that wouldn't fuck you up somehow.
That means that he would, on average, get about 4.5 vaccines per month.
So he's literally going every month.
Yeah.
Every week to a different doctor or, drugstore for this. So he's literally getting vaccinated every week. That's insane.
That's crazy.
That's crazy talk.
And we also have, of course, the Supreme Court and their decision about state ballots. If you ask me, it is effectively saying that states cannot govern themselves.
Yeah, well, that's it. So Roe v. Wade, we want the states to take care of that. Education, we want the states to take care of that. We want everything to be a states issue. Oh, the state disagreed with what you wanted. They can't make their own decisions.
Yeah,
I mean, the literal mental gymnastics that they have to go through to justify the bullshit that they're pulling is, if you say that the Supreme Court at this point is not political, I have to disagree with you. I think at this point, the Supreme Court has become a completely, totally political animal. And shame on John Roberts for, is that right? John Roberts? Shame on him for allowing it to become that, And look, with keeping Trump on the ballot, it was a unanimous decision. And
well, in Colorado, it was also introduced by Republicans.
That's the thing. You know what I mean? So it's like, even when it's your own ideology that is pushing this, you're so in the pocket of Trump. And that's what I think is the problem is I think that at least three of them are in Trump's pocket so deep. And then you got Thomas, who is a whole different story. He's just so many levels.
He's in whoever's pocket gives him the better vacation.
Yeah. I mean, he is in so many levels of he's got his fingers in everyone's fucking rich pockets. And
you can almost say he's got his own pubes on other people's sodas.
And for those of you not old enough to remember, when he was being when he went through his nomination and they did all the questioning, one of the things was Anita Hill said that he said there's a pubic hair on my Coke can or something to that effect, and spoke often of watching Long Dong Silver, and almost didn't get the nomination because of Anita Hill, which, God, I wish he wouldn't have. I mean, he is yeah.
He's a real piece of work.
Yeah. And these are the people that are keeping us filled with thoughts and prayers. If it weren't for the Supreme Court, we wouldn't have...
My thoughts and prayers are with you.
Yeah, we wouldn't have thoughts and prayers without the Supreme Court, in my opinion. Because at this point, it's clear that Congress is spineless, both sides. It's clear that the Republican Party, as of this recording, it's the day after Super Tuesday, Trump is the presumptive nominee, and Nikki Haley has suspended her campaign. She hasn't dropped out, but she suspended it. Which is
also,
essentially...
I did also read a news report that it was actually interesting to me, but a large amount of under 30-year-olds are choosing to be expats.
Really?
And leaving the country ahead of time of the election.
See, I don't think that's the solution.
One of their destinations that a lot of them are moving to, apparently, is actually Italy.
Oh, that's not a better choice.
I just thought it was interesting. I think some people maybe have watched was that whatever in Tuscany?
Oh, yeah.
One too many times.
Well, there's a lot of different, eat, pray, love bullshit kind of things that are on TV. So it could have been any number of them. But, like, with that being said, I get the idea of thinking I'm just going to move out of the country for X period of time, but that's not going to solve the problem, especially if you do it before you vote. I mean, if you want to do it after you vote and you realize the vote didn't go your way, all right, move out of the country, but you're not helping. It's like the people when the Bernie bros, when granted, 2016 was fucked. Democratic National Party was horrific. They had already made their mind up that it was Hillary. Bernie didn't stand a chance. They did everything they could to get him out. But all those Bernie bros that said, well, we're not going to vote then. Well, how did that work out? It didn't work out well. And I think they learned that lesson when 2020 came around. And whether or not they will continue to know that lesson, we are literally at a point where we have two turds to choose from.
Yeah, it is quite literally, how do I pick up this turd from the clean end?
Yeah. And which one's drier, right? And if
Because
you
Trump is
ask
not
me,
a choice. I'm sorry if you are a Trump fan and you are listening. He is not a choice for me. But at the other end of the spectrum, Grandpa Joe just is not my
he's not cutting it.
cup. No,
It's literally it seems to me that this has become a situation of both parties, Republicans and Democrats, going, okay, who are the worst fucking candidates we can put on
and
display?
the two oldest candidates.
Yeah.
I mean, Trump hits Joe with being so old, and other candidates
he's
have done
4
that.
years. Yeah, he's 4 years difference.
And it's literally the oldest facing the second oldest. So it doesn't matter.
So to that point, okay, I don't know, and I'll be honest with you, I'm one of those people who I find myself when talking politics in the last, well, since 2016, 2015, I'm in the position of I do not have a problem with the opposing side. Okay. I've never had a problem with the opposing side. I always thought it was healthy to have that kind of check and balance, because even if I leaned Republican on something, I would think the Democrats are going to offset this enough to where it makes sense. Mm-hmm. And if I leaned Democrat on something, I thought, thankfully, the Republicans will kind of lean on this and make it make more sense.
Yin and yang.
Yeah. You need opposing forces in order to have any kind of balance. Now, I consider myself more of a centrist, but if I do the political testing thing, right, I come out a liberal libertarian. Okay. And most of the people that I know that I'm friends with that are very, very Republican or very, very Trump, because I don't think you can say Trump is a Republican. I think he's his own animal. All right. So I would get
when I do that testing, I always end up with dick in a box.
Oh, well, you know what?
I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. maybe it's correct. I'm just a dick in a box.
You are a dick in a box. But one of the things that I've always found interesting is in the conversations I've had with people, especially people who are very, very Trump loyal, is they find it interesting that I don't like Trump. And I try to explain to them, you can't ask me my opinion on Trump and expect to get an answer that has only to do with politics. And the reason is, I did not like Trump years before he even thought about being serious about running for president. My dislike of Trump goes back to the 80s and 90s. I've never thought he was a good person. Even when he was talking, he was a Democrat basically and hit all the Democrat talking points and was slamming Republicans for a while. Even then, I did not like him. And I thought it was bad that he was, quote unquote, on our side. I vote typically more Democrat because I don't believe in prohibitions. Okay. And it seems that Republicans have
prohibition unless it involves a gun.
Well, see, that's the thing is like they have the Republican Party for the vast majority of my life has been about prohibiting things, not necessarily making things better. And just as a general rule, I find prohibition doesn't work, no matter what the topic. It doesn't matter what you're talking about. When you try to prohibit something that arguably hurts no one but the person engaging in the activity, you're just creating a bigger problem. And,
perhaps
Democrats are
we need to
as bad.
We need to start a rumor mill that human fetuses are used in the production of ammunition and firearms.
Yeah, it's the only way you're gonna get some sort of control on it. So as soon as you go, they use dead babies to make bullets. They use dead babies to make the bullets.
It's what I heard. It's the word on the street.
That's what they say. They say it's dead babies they use to make the bullets.
I read it on Twitter.
It's got to be true.
It's got to be true.
I see. That's the thing, though. Is when you look at prohibition in any way, shape, or form, you will be hard pressed to find where it works. Okay, so prohibition of alcohol, that didn't fucking work. It just created a new class of criminal and a new automotive sport. A lot of people don't know that NASCAR came out of prohibition. That's what NASCAR is. It's just the drivers were so good at making their cars fast that they would hold these races to see who had the fastest car. And now we've got a national sport. So now take that fast forward and you say, okay, well, the prohibition about drugs, what sport would come out of that? Because the difference between prohibition of alcohol and prohibition of drugs is just the emphasis on the word gangster. It went from gangster, white, a lot of times Italian, and imagery of Al Capone and the Detroit Purple Gang and the like. And then it turned to gangsta. Well, now that's black. So what sport's going to come out of drugs? You know what I mean? Like, I think that something's got to come out of it as we start making these things more legal. The interesting thing about drug prohibition recently is you had Oregon, who had basically decriminalized everything, and the voters voted for that, and it didn't work out. It turns out letting people prepare heroin and cook it on their spoon on the street while doing fentanyl and shooting off bottle rockets from their assholes turns out not the greatest of ideas.
Well, I got 1 out of 3.
So, turns out not the greatest idea. But that doesn't mean you need a prohibition. I think they had the right idea. Decriminalize the drugs and actually focus on the addiction. I think that's the way to go. And I'm sure there's plenty of people who think I'm a fucking idiot for saying that, but I do believe that locking up somebody in whether it's jail or prison, county, lockup, whatever, that doesn't solve their problem. They're still addicted. You're never going to stop being addicted.
Breaking news. We got some breaking news here. Munitions will now only be sold, apparently, at Planned Parenthood. So,
ammunition will only be sold at Planned Parenthood.
Don't look at me. I'm just reporting the news.
Because they use the dead babies to make the bullets.
Talk about shooting a shot.
Oh my God. You totally shot your load on that one, didn't you, mister? But getting back to it, there is this, I think there's this lack of common sense that you're seeing, unfortunately, within what I would have previously called the Republican Party, but is now definitively the party of Trump. And the reason I call it the party of Trump is because even somebody like Mitch McConnell, who after January 6th stood up and made his fucking statements about how bad it was and who was to blame and Trump's this and blah, blah, blah. Apparently, even though he's going to step down from being leader, he did not have any problem endorsing Trump. So what the
I'm
fuck?
Sorry. I just got thrown off because I took a hit of my new vape. And the taste. It tastes like cherry NyQuil.
Ew.
Why would I want to vape cherry NyQuil? What is wrong with them?
That's fucking hideous. That's hideous.
Is this vape for people who want to quit vaping?
Maybe. So when you look at these things, when you look at these things and you realize we have gotten to the point, I think, in politics where it is cult of personality.
Well, it's right now. It is definitely party over Americans.
Yeah, I think
Party
that.
above
and like I said, this isn't. I don't want people to mistake what we're saying. And I know you're probably even more liberal than me in many ways, but I think that we both also have kind of like common sense conservative views.
And so 3 years ago, I posted on to Facebook from Brian Tyler Cohen. Are you familiar with
I
his
am. Yep.
YouTube? While Trump was president, every Democrat voted for the $2 trillion CARES Act, even though doing so helped Trump. While Biden is president, 0 Republicans voted for the $1.9 trillion American Relief Plan because hurting Biden is more important than helping Americans.
See, that's my
that
point.
was 3 years ago, and it just happened again
with the Border Act. Yeah. And that's my point, is that I don't have to be a Democrat. I don't have to be a Republican. I can be somebody that can look at the behavior of each party and go, I don't think that that's adult behavior in the best interest of our country. And I think that that's what's missing is like, there should be some things in this country that we can just agree upon. And one of those things that we should be able to agree upon is no matter what it takes, no matter what's involved, children should be able to go to school without having to worry about being shot. I don't think that that's a big ask. I don't
really
think it, and you know my views on drugs. I think all drugs should be legal. But I also think that Portland or that Oregon got it right when they went, well, we need to pull back a little bit on this because this isn't working out. So we need to adjust. You know what I mean? I think you can have a good idea and poor execution, or you can have a good idea and you realize that the reason why it's not working out is because there are factors that you hadn't taken into consideration or were unanticipated. But you can still,
It could be that people feel the need to get high and use drugs because they live in Oregon.
No, it's gorgeous there. Trust me, I used to do shows there. You get high there because you're like, wow, everything's prettier. It's gorgeous. I love Portland. I even some of the worst parts of Portland are still gorgeous. And the Washington, Oregon area is just, it's lush. It's green. It's hippie. It's gorgeous. And honestly, I think, in general, getting high in Oregon or Washington, you do it so that it enhances the beauty. You know what I mean? Because you can't be out in that kind of wilderness that they've got. And even when you're in the cities are just fucking cool. You know what I mean? But they went a little bit too far, a little too fast. I don't think that they I think when you're rolling back like drug crime as an example, you don't start with heroin. All right? You start with pot, as most of the country has. You work your way up into mushrooms and hallucinogenics. And then you see, okay, well, maybe we can dabble in this harder stuff, or we're not. But the question should be, like you just said, why are they getting high in the first place? Well,
I've always had an issue with heroin. I mean, I can see where cocaine, you snort it, makes
cocaine should
you,
totally be legal.
uh, you know, I don't understand the buzz because I've never done it. But sure, let me shoot up. That sounds like fun.
See, so no, I would say
particular one
when you're
could.
talking heroin, and I've never done heroin, so I'm speaking without knowledge. Okay, you can either shoot it up, which is much more kind of quick, and I would imagine a little bit more intense right out of the gate, but you can also snort it. Okay,
Oh, that's true.
so I don't know what
It's just
I don't know if
I,
there's a big difference in the quality of the high or the intensity of it or the longevity of it. I'd be speaking out of school if I said I did. I don't know.
yeah, I'm just saying I don't understand it. I mean, with pot, yeah, I can smoke it. I don't do edibles. You are the edible guy.
Yes, I love edibles.
I'm just not a fan of edibles. I like it the analog way, as I like to say.
Well,
Um,
I like it both ways. See, that's the point that I'm making here is that
so what you're saying here is
I
you
go
buy.
both ways. When it comes to pot, I go both ways. No, so like I never got into drugs really, like in high school and stuff like that. I was more of a drinker. I didn't really. I mean, yes, I smoked pot once in high school, once or twice. You know what I mean? And didn't enjoy the experience, and never went back to it until I was in my mid 30s, and
Hmm.
like that's legit. I didn't. And even then, it was just, oh, okay. I'll have a, I'll take a hit. It wasn't like I was buying it for myself or anything like that. Really, up and I mean, yes, I had it prior to it being made legal for recreation, but I didn't really start dabbling in pot until it was legal for medicinal reasons. And then I started, it was just more prevalent. It was around more and more available. And then I would, I'd get an eighth or I'd get a half or whatever. And then it was made legal for recreation. And now it's like you just walk into the dispensary, you can get what you want, whether it's a gummy, whether, any type of edible, a vape cart, like everyone has their different way of doing it. And there are multiple ways. So I acknowledge that, like, when it comes to edibles versus just smoking a joint, you're going to get hit differently. It takes longer for the edible to kick in. But when it does kick in, depending on how your body metabolizes it, sometimes it's a little bit more potent than if you smoked. Sometimes it's less. Whereas with you smoking, you get the hit right away, the buzz right away, because it's absorbed into your body quicker. But it doesn't last as long, So it's just kind of figuring out your groove. If it were me, I would say that pot should be legal. Anything that grows naturally, such as mushrooms specifically, should be legal. You know what I mean? Like, it's fucking nature. How do you make nature illegal? You don't. Some of the best stories I've ever heard are people gathering up garbage bags, 50-gallon contractor garbage bags full of mushrooms in front of police stations. So they're just growing there naturally in front of the police station. And these people are coming in at night and just scooping the shit up and fucking, bailing with garbage bags full of magic mushrooms. So how do you make that illegal? I don't see how that's feasible. I would say cocaine. As long as it's pure or you know what the cut is, it should be legal. The reason why, like every time we run into a major drug problem, and the major drug problem right now is fentanyl.
Yeah.
But
shit's evil.
Where is it coming in? How is it coming? It's coming in mixed with cocaine so that they can get more out of it because fentanyl is cheaper to produce than cocaine. You don't know what the mix is. You don't know what's in there. It could be baby aspirin. It could be, it could be any number of things that are mixed in there. And then they put that fentanyl in and it's not mixed properly within the batch. You might get 100% fentanyl when you snort that, or you might get none. Well, that's just killing people. So I guess my point being, if we legalize drugs like with marijuana, one of the things, anytime you buy any pot from a dispensary, whether it's a pre-roll or, a vape cart, whatever, they have the breakdown on there. You know what you're getting.
Yes.
It's been tested. So you can feel confident that you're getting what you're supposed to be getting. What ends up happening is when you make something illegal, they're going to try to expand the cartels are going to try to, and drug dealers are going to try to expand their fucking profit with it. And they're going to mix it with cheaper shit that in any kind of combination could fuck you up hardcore or kill you. Well, that doesn't work. So if we know that doesn't work, why are we encouraging that as the method of containing the problem? That does not make sense to me. It would make far more sense to say marijuana, mushrooms, and cocaine are legal. And with those three things, the vast majority of people who want to use drugs, I guarantee you, will be satisfied. Because really, you're not going to get something more out of. I mean, yes, it's a different high with heroin, and any type of opiate. That's it.
Is it?
Well,
Is it
that's
a different kind of high?
That would be a euphoric. That's more of a euphoric. But that can be accomplished with other. I'm pretty sure you could get away with that with Molly. You know what I mean? So I would think that there would be other alternatives that you could make legal. But in my opinion, if it stems from a natural source, such as the coca plant, such as the pot plant, such as a mushroom, how do you fucking make that illegal? How do you make nature illegal? That's like saying, you know what? We don't want oak trees anymore. Well, you're not going to stop fucking oak trees from growing.
Damn those maple trees and that syrup.
Yeah.
Everybody's getting their syrup on.
Exactly. But see, that's the thing is like, if you look at what the current Republican Party is, they're not for anything. They're against a lot.
They're for praying. They're for
thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts and prayers. They're definitely for keeping people out of the country.
Well, you're right. So there are here's what they're for. Okay, they're for keeping people out of the country, but not passing a bipartisan bill that would accomplish that, because that would not be good for Trump. Not yet, at least. But how much you want to bet if Trump does win, that same fucking bill gets passed?
Oh yeah.
And he said, it's not a good bill because it doesn't do enough. But I'll put money on it. He gets back in office, that bill gets passed almost word for word the way it is. Because the work is already done. And if we know anything about Trump, he'd rather be golfing than working.
This is true.
So that's first and foremost. Secondly, again, going back to just the idea that we should be able to, no matter what political stripe you wear, we should be able to, without hesitation, thought, or concern, send children for public education or private education from kindergarten all the way through getting their doctorate if they so choose to. There should not be a place of education that anyone who attends should have any fear that they're going to get shot. I don't know what that plan is. I don't know how to make that happen. And I'm definitely pro Second Amendment, so it's not take the guns away. Like, to me, that doesn't make sense. There's too many fucking guns. You're never going to get them all. And then they're right. You make it illegal to buy guns, you stop allowing guns to be purchased, then only bad people and bad guys will have guns. I agree with all of that. Okay? What I don't agree with is this idea that you think you're going to use your guns to overthrow the government. That's never going to fucking happen. You cannot brag in one breath that we've got the biggest military, the baddest military, the most fucking kick-ass military in the world, and then say, with my AR-15 and my, fucking Smith and Wesson, I'm gonna make my stand. That's just not going to happen. You might kill a few people, but you're going to get fucking wasted.
You know what's going to happen? They're going to run over your house with one of their tanks.
Are you kidding?
They're not even going to stop. They're just going to keep
They
going.
wouldn't even do that. They wouldn't even do that. That'd be a waste of fucking of the tracks on the tanks. They would just drop a fucking drone bomb. Wait, you know what I mean? Like, why waste the gas and the wear and tear on the tank going down the road? You can just fly a fucking drone. Boop. Done. Okay? But again, I'm not saying change the Second Amendment. I'm not saying take guns away. I'm not saying any of that. Here's what I'm saying. It's a problem. There's like what, 90, I think you had said at one point we were talking about this and you said you had looked it up and there was something like 97 or 98,000 schools.
Just shy of 98,000.
Just shy of 98,000 schools in the United States. And we can't.
Maybe they can get a squeal team MX6 to stand guard at each school.
You know what? Fine. I'm okay with that too. You've got all these fucking militias that are, they hell bent that they want to fucking have their guns and walk around with them. Have them volunteer to fucking keep the kids safe. I don't care how we do it, but there should be a way to do that. And I guess, a lot of this is on my mind because now the father of Crumley, James Crumley, he's supposed to have his hearing, I believe, opening argument start on Thursday. The mother, she is in April going to get her sentencing. She was found guilty. The kid got life. And I just look at it and I go, there's so many sad things happening here that never needed to happen. Now,
no, there's a lot of breakdowns in between the event and the school kept trying. Parents did not give a shit. I mean, straight up, the mother texted Crummy, it's your fault for getting caught.
Yeah, when he got caught looking up
ammunition. Yeah.
But here's the thing.
Again, this goes back to maybe they should only be able to purchase ammunition at police stations.
Maybe that's the solution. I don't know. You know what I mean?
And make it expensive.
Again, maybe that's the solution. I don't know. I'm simply I see.
People can have their firearms, but let's put some laws on some ammunition.
And again, maybe that is the solution. Okay. Where were you saying that they do that?
Or not Sweden, Switzerland.
Switzerland. So in Switzerland, you have
Yes.
to go to the police station. You have to
Or a firing range.
or a firing range.
Yeah.
You
need the empty shells when you are done.
and you're not allowed to take shells back with you, are you? Like live rounds.
I do not think so. No.
Okay. And maybe that's the solution. You know what I mean? I don't think that would work in the United States because obviously the main reason that people have guns is for home defense. And if you don't have any ammunition, that doesn't play out right. But
but if ammunition isn't widely available, you wouldn't need your gun to defend your home with. You just need a stick.
Yeah. I mean, you could argue that, but you know as well.
I'm just saying.
Even at that, I don't think you'd get away with it because in this country at this point, there's so many people that have their own little reload setups where they can create their own ammunition at home. I don't think that would again. I just don't think that would work here. I think that we have, whether you're looking at the drug issue, whether you're looking at shootings, I think we have a society that is desperately in need of mental health therapy.
That's what it boils down to, is a lack of a solid mental health healthcare in this country.
Right. But here's the thing. Beyond that, okay, let's say we could get Democrats and Republicans to agree, and that'll never happen. But let's pretend. And they created a system or a service or a department of mental health, so that those who could not afford it but needed it would be able to get it, because I'm pretty sure that most of the people who need it just can't afford it. You know what I mean? I'm guessing that there's a lot of people on Skid Row that would love to be able to lay on a couch and tell somebody all their problems. They just don't have the money for that.
Yes.
Or they'd rather spend that money on drugs or alcohol or whatever, right?
Correct.
So you need some sort of a system set up to where you can change that dynamic. You can change that setup, that system. Now, there's a lot of people who bitch and complain about money going over to Ukraine to fight against that war. I don't have a problem with that because I think that it's actually cheaper to do that than it is to have our soldiers on the ground.
Yes.
So I'm actually pro-Ukraine because Russia was the aggressor in that. Now, if it had gone the other way, I'd be pro-Russia because Ukraine was the aggressor.
Now, a lot of people are against Ukraine because they say it is full of Nazis.
Well, I can pretty much assure you that if you took every single Nazi that actually was a Nazi in Ukraine, and you took everyone who was a Nazi in the United States, I'm willing to bet that we have more. And they may not identify as Nazi, but if you look at the Nazi ideology and you just went, tick the box down the road, right? They may not self-identify as Nazi, but they have the Nazi ideology. I think the United States would have, I would say, even just fucking Florida and Texas would have more than, I would say that you probably,
Pennsylvania.
Yeah, like you could pick a state, and I'm willing to bet that they have more, that their ideology, whether they're self-proclaimed Nazis or not, the ideology that they agree with, I would think you could pick damn near any state except for Vermont, and New Hampshire, probably. And they would fall into having more Nazis than Ukraine.
Right.
And I'm saying that based on the fact that if you look at the average, right? I mean, we always laugh and joke because you know that you're going to have more KKK, white supremacy, Nazi bullshit in the South.
Yes.
You know, whether you're talking Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, Florida, Georgia. Yes, it's going to be Kentucky, more concentrated in those states.
Oh, I come from Alabama with a swastika on my knee.
So, so I would say that that's probably true. I don't know if that's true or not, but I would say that that's probably true. And at the end of the day, that philosophy just doesn't fly. It just doesn't fly overall. But
By the way, Nazis, we would like our Nordic symbols back since you've taken them.
yeah, and the swastika, wasn't that a Buddhist symbol for peace?
There's actually that has actually been used in a lot of different cultures.
It's a cool
throughout.
symbol.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks neat. And then fucking Adolf fucked it up for everyone. That's horrible what he did. How do you ruin a symbol?
I often wonder sometimes in my weird sense of humor that all the moms and grandmas and whatever that have the live, laugh, love signs in their houses, if they just had one more word that stuttered with L. L's making up the swastika. So like hidden agenda.
It took me a second. That's funny.
Just saying.
I don't know, man. I get frustrated with the bullshit when it comes to, we know these things are going to happen, whether it's, and I've just been talking about school shootings, but you could lay this out to any mass shooting at any, grocery store, church, synagogue, dance place, fucking disco. It doesn't matter. Any club. I think if we just focused on the schools, use that as the test source, right? Like, what can we do to make 1 year go by without a school shooting? Or 2 or 3? And what works and what doesn't? If there was a little bit of focus on that.
By the way, did you hear about the shooting at the Austin Stadium? It's not, I refuse to call it a church because
the Joel Osteen thing. Yeah. So I heard about it, but what was the story?
Her reasoning, I do not know. It was a woman who pulled out a long gun from her trench coat.
Interesting, because usually they come in just blazing.
And if I remember correct, don't quote me on this, but one of the ushers who was a off-duty policeman and had his gun on him, personal gun, took her out.
So they would say that was a good guy with a gun taking out a bad guy with a gun.
They would.
Okay, but go to the Super Bowl parade, right? Kansas City. You had 600 officers and an additional 250 or 300 that came in from surrounding areas. So you had 800 good guys with guns.
Yep. And it was a citizen that got one of them.
And it was a citizen that got him.
Without a gun.
Without the gun.
And speaking of that, I just want to say, despite and in the face of whatever anyone wants to say, thank you, Taylor Swift. She gave the family of one of the woman that was killed $100,000 to cover any cost.
Yeah, I heard something about that. I heard that
if everybody acted like Taylor Swift, this country would be better. If you don't like Taylor Swift, that's fine, but go fuck yourself. because she has been a very upstanding citizen in this country.
Yeah, and used her money in the right way. So if I remember correctly, the story was that the family had set up a GoFundMe for $75,000. And Taylor just decided that she was not only going to pay the $75,000 that they were trying to raise, but threw an extra $25,000 on top of that for good measure. And you know what? Aside from Shake It Off, I couldn't tell you one fucking Taylor Swift song. I'm not a fan of her music, and I
don't know anything.
I'm not a fan of her music, but I'll tell you what I am. After that, I'm a fan of her.
Yeah.
I'm a fucking huge fan of her.
Everybody treated others like the way she treats people.
I don't understand why it's. I don't understand. First off, why it's. So, wait, what?
Except for ex-boyfriends.
Yes, yeah.
I digress.
But my point.
More people acted like Taylor Swift.
Yeah, you don't have to write a check for $100,000, but you can appreciate the fact that this fucking family went through this, and
which
they need
also
help.
mystifies me because that was a Super Bowl parade celebrating a Super Bowl win by basically 32 millionaires on the team. None of them could have thrown in some money.
Well, not just that. Where was the owner?
I'm just saying.
Where was the owner?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you cannot tell me that every one of those motherfuckers couldn't have written a check for $20,000 or $10,000. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not $5,000. If you had 32, if you just had everyone in the organization and they all make great money.
You know what? If everybody on the paying, every paid member of that club on the team gave $10,000 just for her kids, the lady's kids that died, so that they knew that they were going to go to school.
How about just $1,000? How about just $1,000? Yeah. How about just show up? You know what I mean? How about just show up? How about the owner take a little slice of that profit that he was going to get from that and go, your kids will have college paid for. Or here's a trust fund. Like, step up, motherfuckers. A tragedy happened that didn't have to happen. Was it your fault? No, it wasn't. But was it your parade? Yes, it was.
Correct.
And you're all in a position to be able to do at least a little something. I don't care.
And for all I don't of care the if sensitive people out there, Taylor Swift was shown on average about 18 to 25 seconds out of 3 hours of a football game. And if you got bent out of shape, your daughters are watching. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Yeah. So for all the guys that got pissed off about that, but they have daughters instead of sons, you would think they would appreciate the fact that Taylor was a part of that, because for that moment in time, even if it was just that Super Bowl, their daughters were watching football with their daddies, and they were engaged and they were interested.
And if you can't show up for your kids' sports, Taylor flew from Japan, a red-eye flight, all the way back to Vegas for the Super Bowl, left the stage, immediately got on her plane, and made the effort to support her boyfriend. I am not a Kansas City Chiefs fan. I hate Patrick Mahomes. I'm not a giant Kelsey fan. But you know what? She's got a lot of character.
Yeah.
And by character, I mean she's got a backbone, and she does the right thing.
See, I think that that's interesting.
You don't usually see that nowadays.
Yeah. So I think that that's interesting take, because I think that for all the shit she got, no one actually recognized the true kind of like, oh, wow, she's actually supportive. Oh, wow, she steps up. Oh, wow, she went out of her way. Oh, wow, maybe we've made a big deal about nothing. Maybe we should just be appreciative that Taylor Swift is making girls who would never watch football watch football. Oh, maybe we should be thankful that there are teenage girls who are tuning in that we would have never had. There's families where maybe it's a single mom and a daughter. And guess what? They're watching the fucking Super Bowl, not because either of them give a shit about football, but because they want to see Taylor Swift. Well, guess what? That's ratings, baby. Fucking
Yeah.
say thank you
And
shut your fucking mouth.
another feather in her cap, I guess, it just speaks to her uh her character again. There were apparently threats. People were angry at her for being there, which again I don't understand. But she
Why?
was so determined to be there that she would have to hide in cabinets and wheeled to the suite, hidden in cabinets that they would move food in because they were worried about her safety. What the fuck? A. Two, or I should say B, she still got there. It's just sad that she couldn't just walk in privately with Travis. Uh,
I didn't
she
know that
had
she
to,
got. I didn't know that she got wheeled in the food
yeah,
containers.
she would have to hide in the big
Yeah,
wheeled cabinets
yeah.
that they use usually for food for catering in the suites. But that's how they got her in and out.
Really.
Yeah, in and out of the stadium. Which, again, people are fucking shit.
I
Like,
see.
oh my God, she's on TV. My world is fucked up now. No, your world is just fucked up. It's you.
I think what I've recognized recently is everyone's just looking for something to bitch about. But they're
Yeah,
not bitching
yeah.
about things. They're not doing it in a positive way. You know what I mean? Like if I'm a
I have
huge
often said I try to remove people out of my life that are negative. And by negative, you go to the people who complain a lot. I'm going to complain about people. I've known people that I could be like, hey man, I'm going to give you $1,000 just for being cool. Here's $1,000. And they might say thank you, but you know that they probably complain about how you handed it to them,
right,
how they got that money.
right.
Go fuck yourself.
But that I think is what we've become, and
Some
that's
people are just incapable of being happy. That's what it comes down to. There are some people who are just incapable of being happy.
and I. You know what I think those people are?
Hmm.
Trumpers, for the most part. I think it's across the
There's a
board.
lot of them.
And
It's
that's not
across
fair. I'm
the
actually going to take
spectrum.
that back. I'm going to take that back because that's not necessarily fair. There's
Well,
as walk that fucking shit back, man. That's not fair. But they
but I
are
understand where you're going
loud.
with that because they are loud. They're usually the most outspoken. The old saying, it's one thing to be stupid and another thing to be stupid and have a big mouth.
Right.
Prove it to everybody around you. And that's what they do.
Well, again, going back to kind of the beginning of the conversation where we were talking about the fact that Trump's the presumptive nominee and it is the party of Trump. I think that there's a difference between Trumpism and Republican classic, let's call it. All right. I wouldn't even say
Saying that, there are Republicans that I know that will not vote for Trump this time.
oh God, I've got I've
I
got
know quite a few.
a surprising amount that I've run across that were like, nope, can't do it. Can't do it. Um, whether that be friends or family, I've heard a
Yeah.
number of times, and they were staunch supporters. For a lot of them, January 6th was a step too far. That's
Yes.
typically what I hear, and I'm not. It's totally anecdotal. I'm not telling people how they should think.
No, but
But that is what I'm hearing.
yeah, I've heard that from many of people who voted for him in 2016 and since then have come around and stop drinking the Kool-Aid. And like, I don't like his actions since then.
It'll be interesting to see how
He
it
has
plays out.
pulled a lot of shit, and there are a lot of people who are not happy.
What?
Sure, he's got his little base, and I do think it is smaller than it used to be.
Yeah, but even if it's only 30% of the Republican voters, that's still a decent chunk of the uh, electorate.
Yes,
The
he is
thing,
still a danger. Don't get me wrong.
And again, I want to preface this by saying, look, I did not like Trump before he was in politics, so I'm not the guy to ask about Trump. You know what I mean? Like, my dislike and distaste for him has gotten more so based on his presidency and his behavior. But for me, you could have asked me in 1995 or 2005, and the opinion would have been the same as it was in 2015. I just did not like him. I thought he was a pompous ass. I thought he was a charlatan. I thought he was a grifter. I thought, and again, those are the years that he was like all Democrat. So this isn't a Democrat Republican thing. This is my opinion of Trump is based solely and entirely on pre-presidential,
You saying that,
2015, 2016. Like,
I sent you a birthday gift. Just returned it. I was thinking that you would enjoy Trump sneakers.
ah,
So I just
I
sent
would
it.
wear those motherfuckers. Are you kidding me? I'd be like, look at my pimp ass. Look at my pimp ass. I got a big T in gold. Sneakers.
So speaking of that, there's people who feel that he only did that to try to appeal to the black voter.
I think they're right. I mean,
I find that interesting. Bling on your feet. He was going after. By the way, have you also seen the pictures where it's Trump with a bunch of African American people celebrating Trump, around him? Turns out that those are all fake photos. It's just AI
oh,
that
is it?
the campaign had been using. Yeah.
Yeah, because they would have, prior to AI, had to actually pay actors. Now they just have to go on AI. And again, look, I'm not a fan of Biden. You know what I mean? I'm just not. But if the choice is Biden or Trump, which it clearly is at this point, since that's the choice, I have to look at it differently. And I have to look at it from the point of view of what will get done and what should get done. And one of them will be, whether you agree with their policy or they even have their fucking faculties, Biden, he's not looking to destroy
With
the fucking country.
with politics, I don't know if I asked you this last week or not. If you could choose a Democrat to run instead of Biden, who would you choose?
Oh, that's tough. I think
Yeah, it's tough.
That is tough. A couple of names come to mind right out of the gate. Obviously, I love Bernie Sanders.
Yeah,
I just love him, but he's too old at this point.
That's exactly my first thought. Is unfortunately he's too old.
I think that with Bernie, his vision became accepted too late. I think that this idea of democratic socialism, and I know a lot of people have a problem with the word socialism, but it's part of your life whether you realize it or not, and you're thankful for that. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. There's
roads,
libraries,
military,
schools. There's so many things that are technically socialist and are just ingrained in our society at this point. that people don't even acknowledge the fact or realize or have the wherewithal to dig past, their nose to figure out, oh, that's socialism.
I'm going to protest highways by driving cross country.
Yeah, exactly. It's that kind of silliness. So he's one of the first that comes to mind. Katie Porter comes to mind.
Oh, she would be very.
I think she would be very interesting to see what she would do with things. Gavin Newsom is just the assumed kind of prince in waiting, I think. I think he set himself up for that. Like he's trying to set himself up this election cycle to be like, well, if, Biden has a massive heart attack and dies or something like that, he'd be willing to step right up and he's a masterful politician. I mean, he's everything I hate about politicians, but he does it so fucking well. You kind of almost admire his, kind of sleaziness. He's not my first choice because I agree with his policies necessarily. But if I was picking somebody that I thought could stand up, get into the mix, get into the ring, and fight a good fight, I mean, he's a political animal. Again, I don't like him. I think he reminds me a lot of a fucking good used car salesman.
I can,
you know what I mean?
See that.
Like he'll tell you everything that you want to hear or that he thinks that you want to hear, and he listens to you well enough to know that he's going to hit 85 or 90% of what you want to hear because he's listening to you and then telling you what you just told him. So I think he's really good in that aspect, but it's also just such fucking shitty political bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, we have talked because, and I think we even did a pod on it. The Democrats reached out to me to run for office, and
Yes.
I just got another email today. They're kind of pushing.
I still say go for it. Why not?
Well, here's the thing.
Be the change you want to see.
Part of me feels that way. All right. The other part of me is I really do enjoy being a spectator because I like being able to eat my popcorn and call balls and strikes on both sides. And my biggest concern, regardless of whether I ran Dem, Republican, Independent, or otherwise, is when you get into the machinery wants to tell you what the talking points are. And you're expected to step and fetch. And I'm not a step and fetch. That's not who I am.
You remind me of the Jesse Ventura, who identified neither as Republican or Democrat and ran independent. First as a mayor of his town in Minnesota, then as governor, who was like, I call bullshit on both sides.
Well, there's a lot of bullshit to call on both sides. And that's why, like, yes, do I lean liberal hardcore when it comes to social issues? Yeah, I do. Do I lean hardcore conservative or Republican when it comes to fiscal issues? Yeah, I do. I think you need to have a budget. I think you need to have receipts. I think you need to negotiate your deals. I think you need to get multiple bids. I think you need to find the best deal that's going to give you the best result. And that's not always the cheapest, but that's also not always the most expensive. I think that people have to wake up and realize the government has no place in the four walls of your fucking house.
Yep.
You have a federal government right now, and this goes state, local, whatever, okay? You have a government right now that wants to tell you how to live your life within the four walls of your house. Now, if you're not hurting anyone else, you should be able to do whatever the fuck you want. End of story. If you live alone, okay, and you want to be a strung out drug addict in the four walls of your home, have at it. Because you're not hurting anyone but yourself. As soon as that becomes you're hurting somebody other than yourself, and we could take that as far as, oh, you have underage children and you're bringing these substances. Okay, well, maybe we can have a different conversation about that. When you have a government that is saying you're not allowed an abortion, well, that's a medical procedure, in my opinion. And regardless of whether you think life begins at conception or you think it begins at birth, I don't really give a shit. A woman has the right to any medical procedure she wants, just as every man does. So you may not need, and your friends may encourage you against plastic surgery. But if you decide you want to get bigger boobs or you want to get cheek implants or whatever the fuck it is, bullshit kind of surgeries are out there, you're allowed to. And the same should be for abortion. Same should be for in vitro fertile or IVF. There should be no government involvement in that. There are so many things like that. Again, prohibition doesn't work. But we're in a situation where we have a big push lately, specifically coming out of white nationalism and evangelicals.
Yeah, I was going to say Christian nationalism.
Christian nationalism and evangelicals are really making a push, not only against abortion, not only against in vitro fertilization, not only encouraging more people to go to church, which that's fine. I mean, if you want to encourage people to go to church, that's fine. I don't give a shit about that. But it's this kind of you can see that it's a concerted effort, and the only thing that makes sense to me in this is that they're in cahoots and realizing that they need to flank both sides, or as many sides as they can possibly flank. So you've got these traditional wives coming online on social media, touting the benefits of basically just listen to whatever your husband says. Just if we didn't have to be burdened with actually voting, what kind of fucking stupidity is that? I don't want control over my own body. I want somebody to control my body so I don't have to make hard decisions. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Well, they had that senator that was wishing that we could go back to a time when women couldn't vote.
Oh, which one was that? Do you remember? It sounds like something. I don't think he's not a senator, or at least he's not a. I don't even know what his position is, but Dusty Devers in Oklahoma, I think it is. That weird motherfucker is all over social media trying to convince people that there should be no separation of church and state, that you can't have morals without Jesus Christ, that you can't do anything without it being laid out specifically how to do it in the Bible. And he actually said that every nation has a religion, and that it's impossible to have a nation that doesn't have a religion. And
all right, it was not a senator, but it is on Tuesday, Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson won the GOP primary to become his party's nominee in North Carolina. And he had said that he would absolutely like to go back to the days when the 19th Amendment didn't exist, when women didn't have the right to vote.
Yeah. But see, here's the thing: is that's becoming normalized through these online influencers of traditional lives and wives. So they're actually, it's a kind of a two-pronged thing. It's like live a traditional life, but they get to define what that means. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then be a traditional wife, and they get to define what that means. But they are very, very much willing to accept the fact that somebody like him saying you shouldn't have the right to vote if you're a woman, they're very willing to accept that. Now, that just doesn't make sense. Why wouldn't you want your vote to count? Why would you as a politician not want the opportunity to win that vote? The more people there are out there voting, the better chance that we have better ideas rise to the top. Okay? It's just like, cream rises to the top.
Yes.
If your philosophy, as is the philosophy right now of the Republican Party and has been for some time, to shrink the voter base, what benefit is there to that? And I'll tell you what I think it is. I think that what their ideology is here is if we have less people that we have to convince, we have a better shot of bullying them into our position.
Correct.
And when you have a large audience, you're not going to get everyone to agree with you. Not everyone's going to be on board. So it seems like...
Which is why states are trying to even eliminate drop boxes.
Again, I can't believe that we even have to go beyond our phone to vote at this point. You would think that we would be in a position where we could all just vote from our phone. However, that's not the case. And the Republican Party wants to go back to 100% paper ballots. But they also want a winner announced in a national election by midnight. Well,
yeah.
How do you do that?
You can't have it both ways.
You can't have it both ways. You go to 100% paper ballot, you're not going to find out who the fucking winner was for weeks. And then if there's recounts, it could be months. That's not...
You know what they could do?
That's not
they could
an effective...
open up a 900 number where you give your voter ID number to vote.
I'm sure that there's 100 different ways that they could do this better. But the problem is you have to get both sides to agree to it. And not just that, you have to get those states involved because the states actually run the election. So every state runs it differently. So, here's a case where states' rights, I think, are a good thing and a bad thing because they're running the elections. So they have the right to determine certain things as far as how they're run and how they're conducted. But by the same token, not exactly doing the greatest of jobs. There's something missing here in this country, and in the sense of we can't seem to determine. Well, we've gotten to the point where we can't agree what a fact is. Okay, so 1 + 1 = 2. Ask a Democrat, they'll say yes. Ask a Republican, the Republican will say, well, what did the Democrat say? He said 2. He goes, not fucking 2. Not fucking 2.
So just to bring this up, because there's a part of me that is, I wouldn't want to say sensitive because I'm just like, whatever, when it comes to immigration, illegal aliens, migrants, whatever you want to call them. Apparently nobody wants to call them human.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Let's start there.
Last year, taxes paid for by paychecks from illegal immigrants, people who are still taxed. Because guess what, folks? If they collect a paycheck and it is on the books, there's going to be taxes taken out. Do you know how much money came from those individuals? $7 billion.
Wow. It's a fucking
$7
industry. It's an
billion.
industry. It's an industry.
How much did GE pay last year in taxes?
Nothing, I don't think.
It was $7 billion less than those immigrant taxes.
All right, there you go.
How much money did Amazon pay last year to the federal government?
I'm going to go same as GE.
It was $7 billion less than those taxes taken out. And before, I think it's Arizona or Alabama. I think it's actually Alabama that is about to pass a law banning immigrants, illegal aliens from federally voting in their state. There's already a law.
Yeah,
it's a federal law.
I just read, I think it was in 96 that law passed. 1996, right? Correct. So it's like, enforce what we've got on the books. I get it. Borders porous. We got a problem there. Work together, figure it out, and actually stick to your fucking plan. You know what I mean? So like,
well, my issue is everybody's like, we got to close the border again. We got to close the border again. The border has never been closed. Sorry to tell you this, but people get into this country. Most of them come in by flight, not across the border.
Right.
They fly in to learn and stay.
Right. Or they fly in to work and stay.
Yes. And closing, I mean, there was an interesting program that I watched, Adam Ruins Everything, where they discussed closing the border and the money we would lose, hand over fist.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's not even.
Would, not if, it would put us into a recession.
Right.
If not a depression.
Right. Well,
our economy is based on many things, and one of the largest is cross the border money.
So to kind of wrap it up, I would say this. We know now that Trump is the nominee, presumptive nominee.
Unless something crazy happens, which I'm hoping for. Because honestly, I don't know what I would give or what I would pay or what I would do, but I would love to have two different nominees. Here's a tougher question for you really quick. Instead of Donald Trump, who would you like to see as a Republican nominee? If it helps, think about like, a waterfall or running water. Pause it.
Okay, so who would I encourage or who would I like as a Republican? Difficult to say because right now they're all falling like dominoes behind Trump. So it's difficult for me to say. You know what I mean? Because, you have, obviously, I'm not somebody that agrees with anything that has sprouted from the neocon Tea Party wing. So right out of the gate, you lose like all the names that people know. You lose your, Jim Jordans, you lose your, Gates, you lose Hawley's.
There are probably only two people that I can honestly, oh no, there are three, but I'm thinking about it. Three Republicans that I would just love to punch. Just one punch.
Oh God, yeah.
Just once.
Jim Jordan.
Gates is on that list for me.
Gates is definitely.
And Josh Hawley.
Holly as well. I could keep going on that list because there's certain, there's just the Republicans that are in the news are very much Trumpers. They're very much, Tea Party, Freedom Caucus, lunatics, really, that are just kind of exploding the system. I think the big mistake that Republicans made was accepting them into the fold and normalizing their ideologies. And again, this goes to Mitch McConnell. I think that if
I could not punch Mitch McConnell because it would probably kill him. But
so
I would definitely make fun of him to his face, though.
So if I had if what are you saying there, Keith? You're gonna punch me in the face?
Yes, I would.
Here's kind of my take on it, my hot take. Mitch McConnell, if this country ends up in civil war, it's Mitch McConnell's fault. And the reason why I would say it's Mitch McConnell's fault is because as the Republican leader,
to me, I can never forgive him for the bullshit he pulled with the Supreme Court.
That's the first thing. That's the first thing. Okay, I mean, he's done many things, but that's the first thing.
The smug little laugh he gave
right
afterwards was just, that was it.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, I would not punch him. I might trip him.
Mitch McConnell, I think, is the linchpin that put us where we are today. Because
and he's retiring at the end of the year.
Yeah, he's retiring because he knows he doesn't want to deal with Trump. Yeah. So like he knows I mean, look, whatever's going on when he freezes up, he knows that that's a bad look and he needs to at least be out of leadership. That's happened 2 or 3 times now. He's just fucking froze.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that is. And I don't wish him I don't wish him any harm.
Hit the on off button.
Yeah, and to be perfectly honest with you, my heart went out to him. For as much as I disagree with him politically, for as much as I think he's responsible for a lot of the ills in our political discourse, for all the things that he has brought upon this country that I believe are negative, when he froze up, not just the first time, not just the second time, and again, I'm not sure if there was a third, but I saw 2. I felt bad for him. That's because I'm a fucking human being. And I could see a human being in distress. It has nothing to do with politics. It has everything to do with being I won't even say a good person. Just somebody who has a modicum of concern for a fellow human being.
I can't say that I forgive him, but I feel like it could be a little bit of karma.
No, I think it's karma. Don't get me wrong. I think you're absolutely right. There's an aspect of karma to that. However, for as much as I think he's damaged this country, whether it was with the Supreme Court and how he played that fucking hand, whether it's not fucking pulling through on putting a stop to Trump's bad behavior, whether it was the first or the second fucking impeachment, whether it's having the words to say, I'm angry with you, but I'm not going to do anything about it. All of these things, right? All of these things. We're going to make Obama a one-term president and, blah, blah, blah,
Well, ultimately, I think the old school GOP mindset died with McCain.
I agree.
The sense of respect, it has moved on. The last 2 remaining was probably
Romney.
See, my stomach is wanting to say, you want to vomit this. Just thinking about it. But Liz Cheney going, losing her seat was the last bit of humanity in that party.
I hate to say
And
it, but
Kinzinger having to walk away because of
I'll
the
go
debt
one
he
further with
owes.
Romney. I'll go one further with Romney. I would agree with you on.
I could see that.
I have no choice but to agree with you on Liz and Kinzinger. What's the old expression? It's easy to stand up to your enemies. It's hard to stand up to your friends.
Yes.
What Liz, Adam, and Mitt did was stand up to their tribe and say this is wrong, and you know it's wrong, and the tribe went, yeah, we know it's wrong, but I don't want to get called out on fucking X or Twitter. I don't want him mad at me. I don't want that.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to deal. And I get that.
It's-
being afraid. That's
that
what it
treatment
is.
that even Ted Cruz, another guy I
Oh,
would
that
love to punch
that motherfucker.
because that dude has got no testicles. No
None.
testicles.
None.
None whatsoever. You're going to let a dude tear apart your wife on TV
And your
make fun
dad.
of you? Yeah, and your father. And you're going to say what a horrible human being is. And at the first opportunity, you bend down and kiss his fucking ring. Fuck you.
Yeah.
You have no right to tell anybody how they should vote or what a human being should be.
So
fuck that dude.
Here's my okay. You want to know who I thought if I had to choose a Republican to be president, and I'll be absolutely
to run for
president.
A different nominee. My choice off the bat would probably be Kinzinger because he's a vet, he's smart,
and he's young.
He may not,
and that would be my first choice. That would be my first choice.
I may not agree on everything that he has proposed, but at least he is a human being.
See, that's the thing is we should be able to, as a society, say, I don't agree with that all the policies, but I think that that's a good person. I don't think we can do that right now in this election. I don't think we've been able to do that in the last few elections. If I had to choose, and I never in a million years would have thought that I would say these words, but my first choice would be Kinzinger for Republican presidential nominee. I think he's a very level-headed guy who understands that you can't let perfect get in the way of good. I disagree with a lot of his political stances, but I can live with somebody that I disagree with who is moving the country in a way that they feel is positive and forward. I can't do it when it's somebody who's moving with their policy the country backward or their rhetoric. And that's what I see Trump as. He's moving the country backwards with his policies and his rhetoric.
He doesn't even years past, you would see nominees talk about what they want to do in office. Trump doesn't do any of that.
He talks about what
he tries to tear other people down with a nickname.
Yeah, that's what,
with bullshit.
Right.
And I'm sorry, that is not a political stance.
No, but he's a businessman. That's what they want. They want a businessman because they think this country's a fucking business, and it's not a fucking business. It's a country. There's a difference between a country and a business. And if you didn't know that, just look at the tax forms. You know what I mean? Like they're fucking different. The country does not pay taxes. The businesses do. Right out of the gate. So my first choice would be Kinzinger. My second choice would be Cheney. I never in a million years thought that filthy name would fall out of my mouth in positive connotation. But Liz Cheney showed character of leadership in a way that I have not seen in Congress in years. Decades.
And her father is, back in the day, I did not hate Bush.
No, I never hated
I
Bush. I disagreed with
did.
Bush.
Yeah, exactly. I disagreed with him. I did not hate him. I did hate Dick.
Yeah, it was easy to hate
That
Cheney.
dude
Dick Cheney was easy to hate.
he was the Darth Vader.
Yeah, but he embraced that.
Yeah, he did. Which
So
made me kind of admire him in a way.
exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Funny.
Like, it's like, okay, I think you might be the embodiment of a political Darth Vader, and he went, yeah, that's what I am. And he went, okay, cool. All right, you're evil. You know what I mean? Like, it still was. It was still an issue of you didn't hate the person. I thought Dick Cheney was fucking deep state, fucking evil, all kinds of fucking wrong. Okay.
Yes.
But I didn't hate him as a person. He didn't give me any reason to hate him as a person. George W. Bush never gave me a reason to hate him as a person. I thought he was inept. I thought he was not up to the job. And I thought that Cheney was actually running the show. And I didn't like Cheney's views. But I didn't hate either of them. I didn't hate George Bush Sr. I didn't hate Ronald Reagan. I didn't even hate fucking Richard Nixon. Okay? I disagreed with their views and their policies. And there were things that I thought they did right too. You know what I mean? Like I could probably name way quicker 10 things that I thought George W. Bush did correct versus 10 things I thought Trump did correct.
Looking back, I see some correlations between Obama and Reagan in the way they gave speeches.
Yeah, I think Obama was the Democratic Reagan.
Yeah, he would put you at ease with a joke, just a quick whittle,
right?
Delivery, much like Reagan. I will never forget after the assassination attempts on Reagan, he was giving a speech and balloons pop in the background, and he did not even miss a beat, which just missed me.
Yeah. I mean, you could appreciate him. You know what I mean? Like, that was the thing is even if you disliked his policies, he was so charming. You could appreciate him as a person. I don't think Trump and Trumpers and super MAGAs would say, well, he's our guy and he's better than Reagan and he's for us. But in all honesty, can you look at Trump and think this is a guy who can identify with somebody making $30,000, $40,000 a year?
Oh, absolutely not.
I don't see that. Yeah, I think he can pretend to.
He could pretend to be the guy that isn't paying him.
Yeah, and that's really what it boils down to is that, again, I don't want to sound like somebody that's just pissing on Trump, okay, or the Republican Party.
What do you think you are, a Russian prostitute?
I am a Russian prostitute, and my name is Helga, because I cannot think of a Russian name, so I went with a German name.
Svetlana.
Yeah. So, I don't want to sound like...
Speaking of that, really quick, do you go on YouTube often?
Oh, every day.
Have you gotten the commercials for the Ukrainian or Russian women looking for husbands?
I have not.
Oh my God, it is funny. It's a real thing. It's like a commercial that pops up.
Well,
and it's like
the whole... Russian.
There's no beauty like Ukrainian beauties. Look at these babes. They are looking for good husbands and vodka.
Well, the mail order bride joke has been around a long time, and it's always centered around kind of like the Russian old USSR. It was always Ukraine or Georgia or whatever. Anyways. Point being, I don't want to sound like somebody that is just, well, it's my way or the highway. And, Republicans are bad and conservatives are bad and Trump is bad. I don't think that way. And even if I did, I'm still stuck with this philosophy of mine that even a broken clock is right twice a day. So even with the people I disagree with, no matter how much I disagree with them, I still give them the benefit of the doubt that they're going to make 2 right decisions every day, which may be more than I make in a day. So I'm always trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. However, part of me,
2 wrongs don't make a right,
but 3 rights make a left.
3 rights make a left.
But part of me finds myself in this position of going, I wonder if podcasts and social media and corporate media and big media, if they had existed in the way that they do today, back in Germany as Hitler was coming up, I wonder if there would be somebody saying the same thing as me. Because what I see, and again, I'm not a Trump fan, but that's not because of his presidency or anything he's done since he announced he was going to run for president in 2015. It has nothing to do with that. I thought this guy was a piece of shit back in the 80s and 90s. So for me, it's a little different spectrum that I'm looking at this asshole through.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he is or ever has been out for anything other than his best interest. And that
His best interest.
His, only his, not his family's, not his kids, not his wives, any one of the 3, not his fucking hookups.
Did
No
you
one.
see the speech where he thanked everyone but left Eric out?
Oh, no, I didn't, but that's hysterical. You know when Eric was born, right? January 6th.
Yeah. That I didn't know.
But this is a, in my opinion, this is a time for people to sit up and wake up. Okay? And I'm not thinking I'm going to, or you're going to, or this little podcast is going to change any hardcore Trumper's mind. I'm not trying to do that. What I am trying to do, and hopefully can do, is make a few people question if they were leaning more Trump than Biden, maybe question that decision. Because Trump's told us what he's going to do. He's been very clear about it. And that's not good. Like for a republic, it's not good. And if you want to hold the republic, like Abraham or like Ben Franklin said, we gave you a republic if you can keep it.
Yes.
It is not going to be kept very well, if at all, under a second Trump administration. We have to wake up to the reality of that. And this is not a Democrat versus Republican problem. This is a United States of America problem. And the fact of the matter is no matter what you think you're being promised, no matter what you think, owning a lib is going to, Trump gets in, I own the libs. Okay. At what cost? At what cost? Because you may not know it, but that cost will come out of your pocket too.
Yep.
So with that, I say we wrap it, smack it, flip it, rub it down, and put it in a body bag because this fucking show is done. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you very much.